Hi, thanks for watching. I'm going to be making this card today using the Spellbinders July 2024 Stitching Die of the Month. The die for the month is called Stitched All Wrapped Up, and it features all of the stitching dies and cutting dies that you see here. There are a lot of options when you're creating with this Stitching Die of the Month kit. Let's go ahead and get started. Just so you know, I'll have the products that I'm using linked below in the description box. I would recommend the Card Shop Essentials Metallic DMC Metallic Thread Bundle from Spellbinders. You've got silver, gold, copper, and champagne. This is a really nice set of metallic thread that's going to make your stitching die projects really sparkle. Now, today I am going to show you a little bit of how I do the stitching when I'm creating with a stitching die. Spellbinder sells embroidery needles, which are easier to thread than your normal needle for sewing. And the dies are embossed. So if you follow the lines on the die that become embossed when you run it through your die cut machine, you'll be able to follow the pattern easily on stitching. All right, so I'm going to remove this piece of thread because it's just not quite long enough for this long piece of paper. And I'm going to show you then how I basically get started. Okay, so the thread is pretty thin. I have it doubled over. So you have to adhere it to make sure that it stays in place. And what I do is, you see how it slipped through the hole. I try to tie a knot or something, but I'm not really good at making the knots large enough to stay, for the thread to stay put. So what I do is I just tape it to the back of this little area that I'm trying to do my stitching on. See, I'm just trying to make some knots here, and I don't know, my fingers just sometimes don't work very well with really small knots and making knots. And I'm not a seamstress. I've never been able to sew. So here's what I do. I just go ahead and take a piece of low tack Scotch tape, or you can take a piece of the Spellbinders Best Crafting Tape Ever. And then that is how I make sure that tail stays in place. And then the stitching dies are quite easy. For this one, you're just going to go around the circle and back through the middle hole each time you make a stitch. So if I can do it, anybody can do it. And yeah, it's super pretty. If I ever share a card with somebody that's been stitched, they're always very impressed with how it looks. When you get to the end here, I'm sorry that it's getting a little blurry. My camera is having a hard time keeping focus with this gold metallic paper. Oh, by the way, I am using a gold, sort of like a gold shimmer paper that I had in my stash. But you go ahead and you make like a loop, just like you would if you were doing regular sewing. And you want, whoops, I missed my knot there. You just go ahead and make a loop, then pass it through the loop, pass your needle through the loop, and then you have your secure end. And then I'm just going to trim up that other end that I started with. And just for good measure, I'm going to grab a piece of the Spellbinders tape, and I'm going to tape this down so it stays in place. Just going to make it a small piece. Doesn't have to be large, and I am going to use my tweezers because for this small area it's better than my thumbs. There you go. That's what it looks like. Let me see if I can get my camera to focus. Oh boy, we're really out of focus here. Oh, I just flashed the embossing folder in front of you that I'm going to be using. This embossing folder is from last year. This is called Adorning the Tree, and again, sorry that it's blurry. Give it a second to come in focus. It is from, let's see here, 2023 July, and it's the 3D embossing folder of the month. Okay, And I do subscribe to the 3D Embossing Folder of the Month Club, but I don't have my 3D embossing folder yet. I didn't get it yet. I actually get both the 3D embossing folder and the regular embossing folder. So I'm just using my Spellbinders guillotine trimmer, and I'm trimming this piece down. I want to mat it so that there's maroon matte layer behind this pretty metallic gold shimmer paper. I'm going to grab my Wendy Vecchi Make Art Station, which is a magnetic crafting board, and I have some silicone. I have a silicone mat on top of it. This just helps keep everything in place, since I'm going to be doing a lot of die cutting. All right, so I just have some glue. I'm going to glue my maroon matte layer down. Well, I showed you just a few seconds ago how I do the stitching. I also wanted to show you how you can create with this without doing any stitching. All right, this is such a pretty bow, and you know, for the holidays, it's just such a great product. So I thought there's ways you can use it, like it's versatility, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It is a versatile product. So if you aren't able to do stitching, or you're wanting to try something different, I would suggest creating something like this. So I'm just taking some of my gold metallic paper. It's a different shade than my embossed paper, which is fine because it doesn't have to be all matchy. And I'm just using some temporary or low tack tape there. I'm just getting everything lined up here. I just want to make sure that I have this lined up straight before I glue it down. Okay. Let's go ahead and glue the top. I'm going to try not to glue the middle, which I feel like I just did, but try not to glue the middle if you do it like this. And then I'll go ahead and remove that temporary tape and slip another piece of this die cut, basically ribbon. It's to look like a ribbon underneath the one that I already adhered. Now I'm just going to fold back the edges because I think it looks more like a wrapped package if I do it like this. Okay. And I'll just hold that down for a second just to get it to adhere. So yes, Spellbinders Stitching Die of the Month gives you, this beautiful stitching die, but also it can be used in other ways, which is what I'm just trying to demonstrate today. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and continue building on my project here. So I love this burgundy paper. I am going to trim off the little holes where you would stitch, basically. You could leave them on, but it doesn't really matter. I was just trying to get everything to fit. I'm going to leave a little bit of a margin so that you can see the gold underneath the top and the bottom of my basically ribbon area. So I'll go ahead and trim that, and then I'll trim the other side. And then we'll go ahead and glue this down. But let's go ahead and trim those little stitching holes off. Now we can glue it. Basically, if you've ever seen a package that's really pretty wrapped with, maybe two colors of ribbon or a ribbon that has two different sides, this is kind of what I was going for here. And then I finally get smart and move that panel underneath out of the way because, this silicone mat helps to keep things from slipping. So it's just one thing that I thought I would try. Now for this, I'm going to have to trim these edges. So first I'll cut them down. I'll fold them over, and then that'll be my guide for then trimming it with my guillotine trimmer. So if you have never ordered from Spellbinders monthly kits, they have several different monthly kits. and the stitching die is just one of them. They send me this one, the wax seal, and the letterpress, which I get those 3 complimentary. And then, as I mentioned earlier, I also subscribe with my own money for the embossing folders because I love these embossing folders. They're so pretty. And sometimes then I'll pick up the glimmer of the month too. Just depends. Yeah, so lots to get. If you are a club subscriber, you can pick up an additional club in the beginning of the month. If you are not a subscriber to any of the clubs, you have to wait until the 6th of the month. And you could only order from the 6th through the 27th of the month. So if you are interested in any of the clubs, now's the time to go and pick those up. And you can order just for 1 month. You don't have to subscribe and then feel like you're subscribing into this like long-term commitment. So like, for example, there was a time when I had ordered the glimmer of the month every single month, and then it got to be a little bit too much, so I just backed it down, and I'll pick it up if I want it. So I still keep my embossing folders of the month that I pay for, but I also have the option on the 1st of the month, because I'm an existing club member, to pick up the small die, the large die if I want, the stamp of the month, stamp and die of the month. I can pick up the stencil of the month, the glimmer of the month. The things that I'm not receiving, I can pick those up. And then if I want to, like I said, I can always change it from month to month. So that's a nice thing. But you do have to cancel before the 27th. So for example, I'm getting the 3D embossing folder and the regular embossing folder for July. But if I decide I need to stop and not order it for August, I need to cancel by the 27th of July. So it's flexible. In other words, the club price is a discount. If you wait to try to see if there's leftovers available the following month, there might not be any leftovers, and you don't get the club discount price. For example, the Better Press of the month is $25. If you wait, it's $35 normal price. So if you fell in love with the June Palm Better Press of the month, you were better to get it at the club price of $25. It is for sale now. I don't know how long it's going to be available, but it is for sale now, but it's $35 until supplies run out. It's better to get it when it's in a club and you're guaranteed to get it. Or you can just take your chances and hope they don't sell out, but sometimes they do. And there's no harm in just signing up for 1 month and then canceling before you get charged for the next month. And then you never have to buy another club again if you don't want to. But your clubs are your best bet. You get your best bargain and your best pricing by subscribing to a club. All right. So as you can see, I'm just putting together the beautiful bow. I think it looks pretty without stitching. Of course, the stitching definitely is beautiful, especially if you use like a metallic thread, especially for the holiday. But you might just be doing for somebody's birthday, and this bow would be representing a present on a birthday card. And I'm just slowly adding my pieces here bit by bit, using my tweezers just to give it a little bit of an extra firm hold there before I put my glue on the back here. Let's see. Obviously, the theme for the clubs this month is Christmas in July. So now's the time to start making those holiday cards. And I usually don't start making mine until October. I'm not the kind of person that gets on those that early, but October to me is early. I'm a real big procrastinator. Not because, I don't think it's because like I purposefully set out to procrastinate. It's just that I'm so busy. I really don't have time to get started that early. I wish that I did. But yeah, full-time job here. Very busy, very involved in things beyond work as well. So it keeps me busy with my family and my church and my other like stuff that I have to get done. All right, so I got a little bit of glue on here. I'm trying to erase it off. And then I'm going to go ahead and glue the bow to the ribbon here. Isn't it pretty? It's just so pretty. And then after I glue this, I realized that I should have put some of the metallic paper, the gold metallic paper, under the bow. So you'll see what I'm talking about here in a second. I think I was getting in a hurry and I skipped a step. And stay tuned for that part. You get to see that, yes, mistakes are made. I don't think it would be card making without mistakes being made, but it's only paper. And you just have to go with it. You have to just, fix your little blooper or just let it go, because chances are nobody else is going to notice but you. I have a happy holiday sentiment from my stash. This is from Simon Hurley. It's a hot foiled sentiment from Simon Hurley from last year. And I just did a whole bunch of them, put them in my stash, and now they're coming in handy. These are white foam squares. These are the small white foam squares from Spellbinders. I'm just going to use those to pop up my sentiment. And then after I have it all together, I realize, oops, I forgot to put this under. I had actually die cut an extra loop on the bow so that I could put it under here. And I thought, what am I going to do? Well, my glue is still a little bit damp, so I rip it off, and then I'm going to go ahead and glue this underneath. And the idea is to offset it a little bit so that it looks like that's the background of the bow, or the, fancy bow with all the loop-de-loops in it, which I don't know how to tie a bow that way. But I don't have to. I can make a paper bow with the Spellbinders stitching die of the month for July. This is really pretty. It looks really nice together, I think. Whoops, I put a little bit too much glue here. But it gives me the option to sort of reposition the piece of paper or cardstock to where I want it to be. Okay, it's got a little bit of extra glue there. I'm just going to let that dry on the front before I mess it up even more. All right, let that set for a minute and it will adhere. So this is really dimensional, and I'm going to use my foam squares. I should have thought about this before I glued it, but that's the way it goes. I'm just going to put some of these small foam squares behind the bow, just to give the card a little bit more stability and just to make sure that the bow doesn't fall off or get ripped off. This is a beautiful card, and I'm thinking this will be the card that I give to my mom for Christmas. She really likes the die cuts, anything with die cuts and like lots of die cuts. She seems to be like really loves that kind of card. And plus, because it's got so much dimension, it'd be hard for me to mail this one. And so it'll be perfect for me to give to her. All right. Well, I just want to say, hold on for a second. I'll have a still photo of the completed card. And thank you for watching. I appreciate everybody for hanging in there while I finish this card. If you're new to my channel, I would love it if you would subscribe. If you like this card, please give this video a thumbs up, and please leave a comment below so that I can enter your name into a card giveaway. I like to give away greeting cards. If you're interested in receiving one from me, just leave a comment below and I'll be doing a special video where I give away some cards. Here we go. Here's the still photo. Perfect for the holidays. Thanks so much for watching. Have a hopeful day.